You all touched on it before without even being asked about coming back to Yale and with families. And I want to ask, when you do come back to Yale, and what are some of the first things you think of? Is it a trip down memory lane? What are some of the images that are conjured up when you set foot on part of the Yale campus?
You know, I think having had children here also, as Ken I mentioned, both of my children were Yale athletes. The first part of it that was fascinating to me was having a daughter here as an athlete. Now, when Ken and I started Yale, it was still all male. Now, it was all male for your entire 4 years. The first group of Yale women showed up when I was a sophomore, and we were talking at lunch with some of the other students here about that. It was a group of 250 transfer women. And my junior year was the first group of an entire class of Yale freshman women that came in. So for me to come back with my daughter, who's our oldest, as an athlete here, was just a marvelous experience. Matter of fact, I think her class may well have been the first class of more women than men at Yale, just by 1 or 2 or something. But symbolically, I thought it was very curious and it was very interesting. But to see how the difference was, and Carol, we were talking about this again at lunch, and I was saying to her how odd and in many ways difficult an adjustment it was for Yale as an institution and for the psyche of all the Yale people at the time. I said this as I'm a guy from a public high school. I'm thinking, how could this be bad that we're having women here as part of Yale? But I was fascinated how many students, guys my age, who were all products of prep schools that were still all male, were reluctant to have this happen. So the women show up. It was an enormous, not an obligation in a sense for them, but it was an enormous endeavor. And my friends who were in that first class will tell you, it was a very hard thing to be a female at Yale in those first groups. You were constantly on display. They would say to me, you'd roll out of bed and throw on a pair of jeans and a sweatshirt and go to class. Well, you know what? There were 250 of us. Everybody's looking at us. So we had to get up, we had to get dressed, we had to make sure we were on top of things. We had to perform in the classroom because we were looked at as an experiment. So this is what I went through as a student. So it was great for me to come back here with my daughter as an athlete and to see that it was just part of being a Yale athlete. You just happened to be one. She played some very good lacrosse teams here, and it was great for me to come back and to be able to cheer for women's teams here at Yale. When I was a student, there were no teams yet. The women were looking. I was saying to Carol, we'd be on the buses going out to the field house for practice, and you would see some women sort of gathering, and they were just trying to find a kindred spirit, saying, did you play anything in high school? Grab a stick. We're going to go out and try and get a little pickup field hockey game going out at the field, because it was a part of their lives that was missing here at Yale, yet they were willing to be here anyway. So for me, that was just a sort of a great experience to see that, and then also having my son here a couple of years after that and being a lacrosse player and to experience what both of them did here. And as a parent, and Ken and I were saying this, it's such a different experience when you're looking at the athletics and you're looking at practices and you're looking at injuries and you're looking at games and wins and losses. I don't know about you, but I always found it was so much harder to watch your child compete than it was for you to compete. But it was also so much more delightful to watch them. I mean, I think of some of the big games we won and beating Harvard to win the Ivy Championships, and nothing of it comes close to watching my kids play at Yale. So it was a great, but a very different kind of experience.
I'm a little different than you two because my children, didn't go here, and I actually left and was gone for a very long time with very little contact back, which actually I wouldn't recommend that. I would encourage you to not let that happen. But I moved far away, down south, got busy with my career, my family, and just got real busy. But then, what got me back in touch was actually Coach Pam Stuper and Barbara and the athletic group. And boy, am I so glad that I got back involved. But I'll tell you what first hit me when I came back: how extraordinary all of you are. When we came back, we got a chance to interface with the current women athletes. And while I'll tell you, I thought we were pretty darn good way back then, you guys are amazing. I saw how articulate you are, and how bright you are, and what great Division I athletes you are. And I was just inspired, and I thought, man, this is just absolutely incredible. And this institution and what it stands for and what it can do, and the part that athletics plays, is really special. And it's actually what got me back involved, and I intend to stay involved. But that's the impressions that I had. And then I did want to come back and share it with my family, so I keep dragging them along, and they love coming up here, and they think it's great. And my one daughter's a junior down at University of Alabama. So sorry, but they have the football team to die for these days. But I think you guys have the women's sports to rival theirs. But it's actually you that is what's most profound about my coming back.
So I didn't come back a lot until my kids were here, and like Carol, I am impressed with how bright everybody is here. I mean, this is a very different student body than when I was here, because I was here as all male, and my year was the last year that it was all male. But I have another, I think, important perspective, and that is what a unique place on the planet this is. What a privilege it is to have spent 4 years here. I run a large institution. We have lots of buildings. We try to create new knowledge and science and take care of a lot of people. And we employ a lot of people, worry about the community, and we try to be great. But this place has been great for like forever. The components that make it so great are really very hard to, I think, objectify. I mean, we can talk about how smart everybody is, but at the end of the day, when you look at the rise and fall of great civilizations, you wonder, how long will this place be what it is in the larger scheme of mankind? And you hope it'll be for as long as it possibly can be, but you realize that places like this in the history of man are still ephemeral, and that it is as special as it is, and we have the privilege to be a part of it, is just, to me, incredible. We just have to preserve it.